aphids, caterpillars and whitefly. Midsummer is definitely peak pest season. Today I'm going to show you how to fight back with this stuff. Garlic. I'll explain why garlic works, how to use it in the garden to baffle those bothersome bugs, and we'll make some simple but highly effective garlic sprays. The secret behind garlic as a pest prevention and control lies in its smell, or rather its chemistry. When you cut or mince a garlic, it releases a compound called allicin. Now this is a sulfur containing compound which gives garlic that kind of sharp, pungent aroma. It's why we love it in our cooking. I absolutely love the stuff, but it turns out insects don't. Allicin confuses insects' sensory receptors by masking the signals that guides pests to their target plant. Not only that, but garlic is a natural antifungal and antibacterial thing as well, so it does double duty as a defence against things like powdery mildew. And if pests do land on a sprayed plant, the sulfur compounds aren't just off-putting. On soft-bodied pests, they can act like a contact pesticide. Garlic really is the complete package. Okay, good stuff. Now I'm going to be making 2 garlic sprays today because they suit slightly different uses. So first up is a general all-purpose spray that's perfect for use on all plants, including edible plants. It's great more as a preventative spray, so it stops pests from even becoming a problem in the first place. So to make our first spray, I'll be using a whole head of garlic, that's around 10 cloves. We've got a litre of water, just over 2 pints, and I'm going to be using an ecological soap as well. This is Castile soap. We'll be using about a teaspoon of this. So the first job is to peel our garlic bulb, hello, and get everything peeled and then blitz it up with about a cup of our water. And that smell, it's making me hungry actually. So just bung it all into your blender of choice, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water, about a cup or quarter of a litre, just to kind of give us a bit of something to get it going. And we're going to whiz this up into a kind of a slurry, if you like, a lovely garlicky slurry. Probably not the right word, maybe a paste is more elegant. Right. Nectar, that's good. Now we can add the other ingredients. So let's go in with our teaspoon of Castile soap. And then the rest of the water. I'm going to mix it all up in here actually. Now we're just going to give this a really good mix and then leave it basically overnight to kind of all infuse so the allicin breaks down, is released into the water. Now here is some here I've had sitting overnight. It's got a kind of curious blue-green colour, hasn't it? Very curious. But the next job is to strain this to remove any little chunks of garlic that might still be there to avoid clogging up the nozzle of our spray bottle. Now you could use a muslin or cheesecloth, or just as I'm doing, a fine sieve to get the liquid all nice and clean like that. Now if you're going to be using it in a spray bottle straight away, then get on and use it. But if you're going to be keeping it for a while, then pop it in a jar back in the fridge where it will keep for up to a week. Any longer than that and the allicin starts to break down and be less effective. So make fresh batches as you go along. Garlic spray is particularly effective against soft-bodied pests, the ones that are really prevalent in the summer garden, like aphids. In fact, a few of you recommended garlic spray as an aphid repellent in our recent video on aphids, which I'll link to in the description below. Then there's whiteflies, spider mites, caterpillars, including cabbage worms, as well as slugs. They can't stand the stuff. And also it's a really effective spray against carrot flies. It confuses them and makes it hard for them to home in on the target crops such as parsnips and carrots. Right then, my second garlic spray is a more targeted spray. This is for especially heavy infestations to react to a pest rather than prevent it. It includes oil, which will help the allicin stick to the leaves a bit more effectively so it sits around for longer and has therefore more of an effect. So for this spray we've got our oil. You could use sunflower oil, canola oil or vegetable oil. Got our Castile soap again. I've got about half a litre, which is 2 cups of water, And for this, we're using anywhere between about 4 and 6 cloves. These are quite big, so I think sort of 4.5 here should do the trick. So the first job is to take our peeled cloves of garlic and either mince them or put them through the garlic crusher like this, or indeed just cut them up nice and finely. And now let's add our 2 tablespoons of oil. Give it a little stir to get it all kind of in contact. And now we're going to leave this for a full 24 hours to fully infuse. And here is one I've had infusing for 24 hours already, so it's good to go. So just like before, I'm going to put it through a strainer to get out the sort of garlic bits. Let's get a spoon to get every last little bit out. There we are. And to this I'm going to add half a teaspoon this time of our Castile soap and then our ½ litre of water and give it all a good mix through. I should say that diluting this garlic oil infusion is super important. This is a much more concentrated spray and it could harm your plants if it's not diluted enough and directly in contact with the leaves there. So we need to make sure it's diluted like this. Timing really matters when using a garlic spray because it can affect beneficial bugs as well as the ones we're trying to target. So try and spray in the evening if you can. Now this is good for 2 reasons. First is that direct sunshine on a wet and specifically oily leaf could cause scorching. The second reason is that pollinators are far less active in the evening, so we can get on and spray the pests without affecting those guys. Try to spray the undersides as well as the top sides of the leaves to remove any hiding places, and try and spray with the nozzle about sort of 6 to 12 inches or 15 to 30 centimetres from the leaves to get a nice even spray. Now try and spray maybe 2 or 3 times a week in the case of an infestation, or once a week as a preventative measure would be fine, and again after rain too. One little tip if you're using a spray on young or tender leaves is to do a little test run first. Spray one leaf and then leave it 24 hours to see if there's any adverse reaction. The strength of your spray can vary quite dramatically with the variety of the garlic that you're using. So if you're unsure, just be a little cautious and do a test first. Garlic doesn't just work in liquid form though. Simply growing garlic near vulnerable crops is a fantastic form of passive defence, and that's because as the garlic is growing, it's releasing those sulphur compounds both into the soil and into the air, wafting around so other plants can take advantage of it. Roses and garlic are a classic pairing. Planting garlic nearby to roses can help to deter aphids as well as reducing the risk of black spot. Tomatoes benefit too, as garlic can help protect against spider mites and aphids, and it can even potentially improve the final flavour of those tasty toms that you pick. Brassicas, that's the likes of cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower and so on, are another great match. And that's because garlic helps to confuse and repel the moths and butterflies that lay their eggs on the leaves that then produce caterpillars that eat them. Strawberries, carrots, peppers. Garlic gets along with most crops, as you can see in our garden planner. Look, if I select the garlic in that bed there and then click the show companions, it brings up all of these crops that it actively helps. Look at this long list, it's just remarkable, isn't it? Of course, garlic won't replace every option in your pest control toolkit, but as a cheap, safe and effective line of defence, it really is quite hard to beat. And so for that matter is the garden planner. As well as the companion planting feature, there's all sorts of powerful little tricks up its sleeves, such as crop rotation and automated sowing, planting and harvest dates. Just head on over here to follow the link or scan the QR code to start your trial, and you won't have to put in any payment details either to get started. I'll catch you next time.